we're going to talk mainly about our pSTAKE's recent move to Bitcoin in a way. In case you missed it, we recently announced a big move with BTC liquid staking in collaboration with Babylon just last week. I think the announcement has definitely sent some waves in crypto, especially the BTCfi space, which is very nascent at the moment to very much in a position to grow hugely from here on. So that will be very interesting to look at how pSTAKE fits into the jigsaw puzzle and become a leader here. And the main agenda for the space is essentially an informal chat to get to know from Mikhil the thought process and the thesis for building on Bitcoin. So, Mikhil, we can get started right away. Do you just want to quickly introduce yourself and pSTAKE for all the ones that might be new to the community and joining in for the first time?
Absolutely. Hey everyone, I'm Mikhil. I'm one of the co-founders of pSTAKE, and I've been in the space officially for almost 5 years now, building things around staking, liquid staking, and started working on pSTAKE in 2020, end of 2020. pSTAKE was geared towards building liquid staking solutions, but primarily within the Cosmos ecosystem, doing liquid staking for Atom. We were the first liquid staking provider for Atom back in 2021, early 2021, and this was pre IBC, pre Cosmos having any DEX, nothing. So we've done a bunch of things around liquid staking. We launched liquid staking for BNB in the past. We launched liquid staking for other Cosmos based assets like Osmo, DYDX, Stars, Hua, and now pSTAKE is going to solely focus in a big way on Bitcoin liquid staking because or restaking, whatever you call it, liquid restaking or liquid staking. That's going to be a big focus for pSTAKE because we see a huge opportunity and a huge market that has not been tapped into, and we see an opportunity to build for something that stands the test of time. So yeah, that's what pSTAKE is: liquid staking, staking, restaking.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that brief context to everyone. And like you rightly mentioned, the focus ahead is going to be a lot on Bitcoin. So let's dive deeper into that. And firstly, for everyone's maybe context as well, we're as a team, as contributors, we're trying to constantly experiment things, which is why we decided to have this space on a Sunday to see how things kick about. And I think why not kick the week off by talking about Bitcoin on a Sunday. So before actually maybe talking about Bitcoin, Mikhil, how's your Sunday been so far? Is this do you usually work on Sundays, or how do you structure your day?
Yeah, I generally like working on Sundays. It's a very I take it slightly easy on Saturday. I work like half a day, chill for half a day, go play some football in the evening. Yeah, just take it easy. Sundays I like to plan for the week, get the team to push throughout the week because the team doesn't always work on the weekends, but somebody needs to make sure that the team is pushing every day, right? So planning the whole week, planning for what the priorities are. Sunday gives you a very good opportunity to take a step back from the day to day. You're not bogged down by like 20 people chasing you for inputs, for direction. So it's a good day to like just brainstorm, think about where you're going right, where you're going wrong. And then I spend a little bit of time watching football. Like today is the last day of Premier League, hoping for Arsenal to win it, because I'm a United fan and I don't want to see City win it 4 times. So yeah, Sundays are generally chill, very light-headed work days. A lot of fun actually, very enjoyable and analytical days.
Beautiful, sir. Yeah, I think let's keep that vibe going and have a very chill and low key conversation about Bitcoin Peace Stake. And I think I'm the same boat with you. I definitely do want Arsenal to win as well. I don't think I can see another City win, so let's hope for that too. Yeah. Firstly, maybe before even going into the move for pSTAKE to liquid staking for Bitcoin, I think for everyone's information as well, can you talk a bit about what Babylon exactly does, and how come Bitcoin staking all of a sudden has become a thing, let alone liquid staking? Because for the longest of time, Bitcoin was just a proof of work chain, right? So can you talk a bit about that? Give everyone a clearer picture about Babylon and Bitcoin staking.
Absolutely. So I think it's a very good question because not a lot of people are familiar with Babylon Bitcoin staking. So Bitcoin staking doesn't necessarily mean anything around BTC being a stakeable asset on the Bitcoin network. It's actually very different. So if I say Ethereum staking, all of a sudden you say, okay, Ethereum can be staked to secure the Ethereum network. If I say Atom staking, Atom can be staked on the Cosmos hub to secure the chain. BTC staking is not about using Bitcoin to secure the Bitcoin chain, but rather secure every other chain in the crypto ecosystem. That's what Babylon enables. So every chain in the space requires some form of economic security, whether it's economic security or security through a certain percentage of the supply being staked. So there are so many proof of stake chains today, which means chains where you can stake certain assets uh, and secure those chains, right? So now, what Babylon introduced is a very novel mechanism which allows people to use their Bitcoin and lock it up on Babylon to earn staking rewards from other POS chains, which may be in need of that security. So the BTC that goes into Babylon, you can consider that, for example, if you have Atom and you want to stake Atom on the Cosmos Hub, how do you go about it, right? You select a validator, you say, okay, I want to stake my Atom with this validator. I learn some staking rewards for staking my Atom, and I will enjoy, like, participating on in network consensus governance. You can do the same thing, but with BTC today, but not on the Bitcoin network, on 20 other chains or any other chain that Babylon is integrated with. So Bitcoin staking is essentially, in short, in summary, it's a mechanism which allows people to stake their Bitcoin to secure other POS chains and earn staking rewards in the form of other proof of stake assets. So with the persistence chain, for example, persistence will be a consumer of Bitcoin security via Babylon. People can bring in BTC, stake it on the persistence chain through validators on the persistence chain, or on staking rewards in the form of XPRT. That's what BTC staking is.
Very well explained. So you could, very easily make an analogy to EigenLayer here as well, right? Instead of, let's say, talking about restaking, it's essentially about locking up some form of capital that is used to secure other services, and in this case, that would be chains. Why I mentioned that is, I think you recently put out a hot take on when it comes to shared security, EigenLayer, and Babylon. Do you want to quickly touch upon that a bit, and why do you see something like Babylon and Bitcoin being much more attractive in this scenario?
Yeah, I think the hot take was not. I wasn't expecting so many people to come at me after that, because a lot of people had very strong views against what I stand for. So for me, again, if you're not familiar with the tweet I put out, I basically said I think Babylon has a much better chance of success than Eigenlayer. Actually, to be frank, I said EigenLayer is gonna fail and Babylon will succeed. I didn't even say it that nicely, so it's on me to put it like that, which is why people came after me. But I strongly stand by that, right? Because what is EigenLayer? EigenLayer allows you to use already staked ETH to secure other chains, because Ethereum has native staking, Bitcoin does not. So the difference between Babylon and EigenLayer is that EigenLayer takes in deposits of staked Ether, so you can earn staking rewards, and on top of that you earn restaking rewards, or staking rewards from other chains or services that EigenLayer secures. The reason why I think Babylon has a better chance of success is because it provides security to Cosmos chains as the primary consumers of security, and I think Cosmos chains are in the most need of security, because that's a market. Again, if you take a step back, you're going to ask yourself, who needs security? It's chains, right? Chains. Where are chains being built today? Where are the most amount of chains being built today? On what technology stack? It's the Cosmos tech stack. Babylon has gone after that Cosmos tech stack in a big way. On the other hand, EigenLayer is going after EigenDA. It's going after, like Oracle services, which I don't think are in a place where they can offer, a sufficient amount of revenue share or staking rewards to EigenLayer restakers. So my belief that Babylon will succeed stems from two different factors. One is the fact that Babylon has done a very good job on their go to market by going after Cosmos chains, which are generally like high inflation chains, mid to high inflation. So they provide like decent staking rewards for BTC stakers. And the second reason is BTC has no inherent yield. So if there's no yield on BTC and you can generate some yield by staking it and securing other chains, why would you say no to that? On the other hand, if you're already getting some staking yield on ETH, would you maybe do restaking for some additional yield? Probably not, because the risk that you take with restaking again is a lot higher than just staking, right? So here the difference, the jump you get on the Ethereum side with EigenLayer is far lower in terms of yield than it comes than Babylon, for example. So that's my thesis.
Yeah, I think those are very solid points, especially the fact that you mentioned, where are chains being built right now. Obviously we see some sort of L2s and maybe other alternative L1s coming off here and there. But I think the biggest growth when it comes to blockchains is definitely not the Cosmos ecosystem as such, but maybe the AppChain ecosystem, the interchain ecosystem that is empowering this. And I think from an alignment perspective, I think BTC definitely seems to be an asset that is more exciting, more interesting, and more or something that you would want to align with. So these are great points. Touching on the thing that you mentioned about Bitcoin being, yield generating all of a sudden, with this move to build liquid staking for Bitcoin by pSTAKE, that's obviously huge. And I think one of the biggest points behind the move has to be some sort of belief here, right? So can you touch on, where this beliefs come from your point of view, as well as the team's point of view with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think the belief around Bitcoin. I put out a tweet today, right, which is uh, like why this belief. One is I've always believed in crypto. I believed in crypto in a big way because I love the technological innovation that it brings, right? Which is the fact that you can like do so many things. Ethereum was programmable money. You could build the financial infrastructure on a blockchain. So you have like borrowing lending, which is the most basic form of finance today in the traditional world. You've replicated that on a blockchain in such a nice way that was possible with Ethereum. But recently with what we are seeing in the world, and that's again me growing up and realizing that the world we live in today is a very weird place, right? You're seeing inflation being, I've never seen in my lifetime at least, inflation being as high as it has been recently. So you're seeing inflation being super high. You're seeing wars happening here, there, everywhere, and it's similar to gold, where people fled into gold during times of uncertainty. You see the same thing with Bitcoin, and uh, I all of a sudden my belief towards Bitcoin became extremely strong because of that reason, which is, it stands for something which is much more than what you see crypto standing for today, because it's a lot of speculation that happens within this industry. And while it's great to have that speculation, because speculation leads to more innovation and innovation leads to more speculation, it's kind of a loop. But with Bitcoin, it stands for freedom. It stands for the fact that you want to kind of like, yeah, you want to hedge against the economy or the world that we live in, right? So that is a big part of the belief that I have in Bitcoin, which is, as times get tougher, as we see tougher times, people are gonna flee to an asset that is much more like robust, and Bitcoin stands for that. So that's a big part of why I believe in Bitcoin. The other is the fact that, again, going down this path of building for Bitcoin, why is that? Because of the opportunity that it presents as well, right? If you look at, I mean, I joined the space officially in 2019, so it was pretty late to do Bitcoin mining. But staking was a very early thing, right? We started Audit One, which is the validator arm that we had, uh, just so that we could generate some yields, right? We come from yield backgrounds. Like, I come from an Indian household where everything is about monthly cash flows. How much money can you have on a month by month basis to do different things? Where can you allocate your money? Obviously, we didn't have enough money to allocate to different kind of financial instruments, but yield is a very interesting play for us, and Bitcoin has never had that inherently. Gold doesn't have inherent yield, but what if you could create something that provides Bitcoin to have yield, inherent yield? Now there's no inherent yield, so I would say like still have some yields, but in interesting forms. Now Babylon, for a change, has introduced a mechanism that allows for yield to be created on Bitcoin. But how do you make that accessible as a product to everyone then? How can people access this product? Because if you're saying, oh, you stake your Bitcoin via Babylon, it's going to be locked for 21 days, 14 days, 28 days. Not a lot of people are going to use it, let's be honest. So at least like, normal people who hold Bitcoin in decent amounts but are not like big whales, right? So how do you make this product accessible to everyone? You build a liquid staking protocol, and you build a product that can actually achieve real traction and adoption, and then a product that you're building not for a cycle or two, right? In crypto, everybody's chasing like narratives. You're like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna build this, I'm gonna build that because it has hype. Now Bitcoin may not have hype every once in a few months, right? Like Bitcoin, obviously, after the halving, historically speaking, Bitcoin definitely slows down. But the fact that you want to build in an industry for a very long duration, because I'm super young, the team here is super young, right? So for us, what matters is the ability to build and execute over a very long period of time. And uh, I was recently interviewing JP Thor on Stacked, which is this podcast I started with Yaron and Tushar. And he said this, which I fully agree with. And most people, they only think in terms of 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, even 3 months, even. If you can take a step back and think in 5, 10 year, 15 year time horizons, you're meant to achieve great things. And for me, Bitcoin is the only asset that can allow you to think in those time horizons. You cannot think about Atom, for example, in terms of oh, in 10 years Atom will be like this. At least I cannot. A lot of people could potentially, but I cannot. So for me, the idea of Bitcoin is that it allows me to stick to my ethos and my values, which is you know building for a long term, being able to build for an asset that I believe in fundamentally, which is going to become a very important part of our lives in the future. And yeah, I've been blabbering for too long, so I'll maybe take a break. But yeah, that's the belief and why I build for Bitcoin in a way.
No, I think it's definitely not blabbering, Mikhil. We really appreciate all these insights, especially when you relate it to a lot of in real life scenarios, right? Whether it is how financial households think from a finance perspective, what these beliefs stem from, and also the longevity part that you mentioned. One of the things that you said really struck me, which is that BTC has been a passive asset for the biggest time, right? I think since inception. Obviously, there was wrap BTC in some form when it comes to DeFi, but that was again the same primitives that existed for every other collateral or every other asset as well, right? And I think for a personal view that I feel is like we will see maybe a lot of capital flow into DeFi or a lot of capital flow into these yield sources that are coming for Bitcoin. Is I feel from a personal level is twofold. I think that as the markets become more and more mature, the volatility for Bitcoin as a store of value might become lesser and lesser. So we might not see those 5x moves or 10x moves that Bitcoin has done in the past. And with ETFs, you could say that the base return on Bitcoin, which is again the yield on Bitcoin, which is from a perspective of price appreciation year by year, that becomes more accessible to the common person. So do you think that this will lead to people actually looking at these sources of yields today and deploy capital very actively?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see that happening 100%.
And then from a security and from an infrastructure perspective, where do you think are when it comes to this BTCfi landscape in a way? Do you see something like the ETH DeFi somewhere replicating? And if so, where do you see pSTAKE amidst all this?
It's a very good question. I'm still trying to form a thesis around BTCfi. To be honest, I don't have an answer yet because it's a tough one, right? Because Bitcoin historically was not created to enable DeFi. So most of the Bitcoin L2s that you see today are side chains. It's not even entirely like BTC L2s, to be precise. L2s in the purest technical sense. Obviously, you could argue they're L2s. I can argue, and then we'll come to a decision that okay, we can just agree to disagree. But my view is that BTC L2s are not L2s; they're side chains. Now, uh, it depends on your definition of L2s, my definition of L2s. But again, as a sidechain, you can obviously offer a lot of like exciting DeFi opportunities because it's like any other EVM chain, for example. But the question is, do people want to use BTC as an asset? For BTCfi to happen, BTC needs to be utilized as an asset on these chains. Now, that is then dependent on a few factors. One is the kind of people that hold Bitcoin. The other is the kind of use cases available to Bitcoin, and then the last is the decentralization and bridging of Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network to these L2s or side chains. I think all these factors, we still don't know how they're going to play out. A lot has changed when it comes to Bitcoin holders. Used to be like, I think Bitcoin holders were just like purely against the idea of doing anything with the Bitcoin. With ETFs coming in, with more traditional people starting to allocate towards Bitcoin, they are happy to do certain things around Bitcoin. They are not like stuck in this mental paralysis kind of thing, which is oh, should I do something? Should I not? They are happy to allocate Bitcoin to do certain things and generate yield on it. So my thought process is that Bitcoin BTCfi may not happen on BTC L2s, to be honest. It's not about BTC L2s taking over and having like a ETH summer kind of thing, because ETH DeFi summer, led to a lot of scam coins being created, a lot of farming happening. Like so many coins came, died immediately, like YAM and 20 other things happened, right? For me, what would be successful for Bitcoin Fi to happen would be a scenario where BTC starts being utilized for various things, or not just BTC L2s, but everywhere. Because BTC is that one asset that can actually exist in every chain, right? You don't have ETH available on Solana and people using ETH on Solana too much. You don't have Sol available on Cosmos chains. You don't have Sui available on Solana because incentives are misaligned. But with Bitcoin, people holding Bitcoin should go after yields wherever they can, right? So I see a huge opportunity for Bitcoin Fi to happen in the sense that BTC is used for DeFi activities wherever possible. So pSTAKE's goal again is to enable that. The objective is not to say, oh, BTC DeFi should happen in BTC L2s. No, no, no. The goal is very simple. Is to give people what they want, which is a yield generating Bitcoin asset. And the yield is generated through staking rewards via Babylon. And the ability to take this liquid staked, liquid restaked representative token to any place that can enable those financial opportunities on their liquid stake BTC. That's what the objective for pSTAKE is, and I see pSTAKE playing a very important part, right? Because it's literally the one thing that enables staking yield on Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin still being liquid, and that's a huge opportunity in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, Mikhil, I think these were very provocative thoughts in a way, and the rationale that you put down. I think just to summarize, things would be that you foresee BTCfi in a way to grow with three prongs. One is yields, the second is security, and the third is infra. From an yields perspective, a yield generating Bitcoin will be bullish for all chains to ever exist and come into existence. From a security perspective, what you mentioned was people will look for the most secure ways to deploy this huge amount of Bitcoin capital that is sitting on the sidelines. From an infra perspective, you think that the things are ever evolving and will be driven more by organic demand. So this BTCfi landscape in a way can evolve on L2s, maybe on a Cosmos app chain, maybe on Ethereum. It's where the organic demand for this would be. And I think what you mentioned was that with pSTAKE focusing on all three of these things when it comes to Bitcoin liquid staking, I think the only word that comes to my mind is bullish, man. It's great to hear that. So talking about the news, actually, the news has been out for almost 5 days now since we announced Bitcoin liquid staking in collaboration with Babylon. Have you spoken to a lot of let's say institutions, Bitcoin miners, holders, maybe pSTAKE investors as well, including Binance Labs or maybe other protocols? If so, what's the feedback that has been from such people?
I mean, obviously, I can't speak for people, but what I understand from these different conversations is that this is the path to go in, right? Because you see so many narratives playing out in this cycle already, which is there's restaking, there's like yeah, obviously there's the infra narrative that always is a good one, GameFi, SocialFi, but it's also about how much belief you have in what you're building, right? So when I speak about Atom, I can't speak with as much confidence as I can when I'm speaking about Bitcoin. So it's also what you portray. We've been speaking to a bunch of people actually, like every kind of stakeholder, like the ones you mentioned and more. So more than just those as well, right? And I think people are excited, especially because of the direction in which uh, the Bitcoin ecosystem is headed as well, and they see us playing a big role in that. So I'm excited for sure.
It's amazing. I think we'd love to keep, updating. I think the community as well and how these conversations are going. I'm sure we can find more and more avenues to do this. And I think the more bullish news, the better when it comes to Bitcoin liquid staking, right? Perfect. I think I want to quote on one last thing and maybe touch upon one last topic before maybe we can actually invite a few people as well if they have any thoughts and suggestions here. I think in the tweet that is also pinned in the space, one of the last points you mentioned was that building for the biggest crypto asset gives an unfair advantage for creating a leading niche for yourself. And I think for every crypto protocol or every project, I think some of the problems that are being faced are common, right? It is the problem of having enough attention, having liquidity, having information hurdles to what you're doing to be able to market it better, the problem of attracting institutions, doing meaningful BD, and all these things. So, by building for Bitcoin, how does this change for pSTAKE overall?
I think that's a very good question. How does this change your building? I think it's a lot easier, right? It's so easy because you're not trying to explain something super technical to somebody, right? You're trying to explain the problems of the world, and the solution to these problems is a lot simpler than what most people imagine. So I would say it makes your life much, much, much easier than what it used to be. So for me, that's how I would put it.
I think very simply said as well. I think the simpler, the lesser, the better when it comes to having a clear things to stand for, clear things to push, and clear things to attract that attention by driving distribution on the same thing. So that's great to see as well. So just to summarize the space today, we've talked about pSTAKE's move, a huge move to move towards Bitcoin going ahead and building liquid staking for Bitcoin in close collaboration with Babylon. We've talked about our thesis when it comes to Bitcoin, why pSTAKE is moving in a direction to build for Bitcoin. We've touched upon the various hurdles and the opportunity when it comes to BTCfi, and how this huge move makes it very simple for pSTAKE to succeed from here on. Again, Mikhil, thank you so much for joining us today on a Sunday, sharing your invaluable thoughts and driving this conversation. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aditya, and thanks, team, for hosting. We'll do this again. Thanks, everyone, for joining in.